The Chancellor of the Human Sovereignty touched a button on the console, and the room melted away. One moment she was standing in the glass chamber in her meeting room at Capitol House, the next she was in the middle of the void, translucent form shimmering against the dark. It didn't matter how many times she came here, Marcia was no less disquieted. The emptiness of the V-space was disturbingly similar to how she imagined the cold, never-ending silence of death to be like. A virtual environment, the V-space was a popular choice for secure face-to-face communication across the galaxy. Capable of simulating any number of environments, the black void Marcia stood in was only the simplest form it could take, though she would have preferred just about anything else. She hoped she wouldn't be here long. The darkness and silence were making her more uneasy by the moment. Other images glistened around her. Marcia felt their alien eyes analysing her. The council may have been united, but that didn't mean its members were above seeking out and exploiting weakness within their ranks. She noticed a couple faces not normally present at their meetings, Hema Ermit Seema and Marta Severnota, the leaders of Freedom for All. "So nice of you to join us, Chancellor Carlson," said Uran Urga Surya, the Chancellor of the Irangrot Sovereignty. He looked about the same as most members of his species, though his most striking feature was the grey, stony material that covered most of his hands and face. He glared at Marcia. The human race had never had a good relationship with their Irangrot neighbours, the memories of the last war still fresh in the minds of many on both sides. "I apologise for my lateness. The Imperator decided to enter an exit warp space directly above the assemblage station." The time dilation brought about by the Imperial leaders' grand entrance and exit meant that, while they each took only a couple minutes for those in the vicinity, several hours had passed for the rest of the galaxy. "It's quite alright, Chancellor Carlson," said Satrasela Herun, the leader of the Trine Sovereignty. "Now that everyone is here, I call this meeting of the Executive Council to order." While the council had no official leader, Chancellor Herun was widely regarded as its unofficial chairperson, while her species, known for their shrewdness and intelligence, was considered the leading member of the Confederacy. Among the galaxy's known species, the Trine were most similar to humans, at least in terms of appearance. They had the same body shape, but were shorter, thinner, and far more fragile. The Trine Chancellor's skin was white as milk, contrasted by the dark veins plain to see beneath due to the thick black blood coursing through them that made it look like someone had drawn all over her in black marker. Her head was about twice the size of a human's, her two almond-shaped eyes coated in a black film that made her pupils and irises almost invisible. Her nose, ears and mouth were little more than thin slits. Joining us are Hema Ermit Seema and Marta Severnota of Freedom for All. The so-called leaders of FFA stood with barely a gap between them. The Irangrot Seema practically glowered at the council, while his Trine counterpart looked to the non-existent ground and shuffled his feet. Right away, Marcia could tell who the real leader was. "I'm sure we are all eager to hear the outcome of Chancellor Carlson's meeting with the Imperator Nero," Chancellor Herun continued. Marcia wasn't at all surprised by the result of her visit to the assemblage station, though she still wasn't looking forward to breaking the news to the others, especially their guests. "What of our comrades?" Seema demanded before she could get a word out. Marcia overlooked the indiscretion, hoping to get the meeting over with as quickly as possible. "Nero refuses to release the prisoners unless he is first given the leaders of Freedom for All. That's the only deal he will accept, a deal I refuse to make on behalf of the council." The young Irangrot bristled. "So you failed us." "We did everything we could possibly have done," Marcia shot back. She wasn't about to be spoken to like that. "You were warned of the dangers of your actions and you didn't listen." "But there must be something more you can do," said Severnota meekly. "Some kind of legislation, perhaps? The Treaty of Assemblage?" "I suggest you acquire a basic understanding of galactic politics before you come here telling the Executive Council how to do its job," Uran replied with the less than subtle air of superiority common to his species. "The Treaty of Assemblage is an agreement with the Imperium to formally recognize the existence of the Confederacy and its borders. Nothing more." "We don't have anything resembling an extradition treaty with the Imperium," said Chancellor Herum. "Short of asking for your people to be returned, there's nothing we can do." "If we had some of their people, it might be different," Marsa added. "Perhaps then a deal could have been made, but the fact is, we don't. The only thing Nero wants is you." The V-Space was silent as Seema continued his brooding. Marsa had sized him up the first time she saw him. Bad-tempered, impatient, and unreasonable. Qualities that wouldn't serve him well at any level of politics, let alone dealing with the Executive Council. The young revolutionary lowered his gaze and gave a long, bitter exhale. "Not good enough." "I beg your pardon?" Marsa didn't want to believe that Hema Seema was foolish enough to pick a fight with the Executive Council, but that seemed to be the case. "Hema, please," whispered Seven Order. From where she stood, it was clear to Marsa that he held little to no sway in the group he co-founded. Seema looked back to the council, ignoring his counterpart. "I said this is not good enough. You are the Executive Council. You're the leaders of the Confederacy. It is your duty to protect your citizens." "We warned you repeatedly of the consequences of your actions," Marsa replied, finding it increasingly difficult to conceal her annoyance. "We do everything in our power to protect our citizens, but we can't do that when they're operating outside our borders and breaking laws in the Imperium. There are still options, such as rescue them, send your fleets in." The suggestion stunned the council and confirmed another of Marsa's suspicions. Hema Seema was an idiot with no understanding of the situation. That only made him more dangerous. "Are you insane?" Uren exclaimed, the same thing no doubt everyone else was thinking. "It can be done," Seema insisted. "The Confederacy has fought wars with the Imperium in the past. Minor conflicts that were ended quickly through negotiation because the Confederacy stood no chance of winning them. A full-scale war with the Imperium would be disastrous. It would be suicide. You are, without a doubt, the greatest imbecile I have ever encountered." "I stand in agreement with Chancellor Surya," Chancellor Herum said before Seema could answer, "as I am sure the rest of the council does. Any attempt to rescue your people, successful or not, would undoubtedly be seen by Nero as a declaration of war and be met with severe retaliation. I am sorry, but your people are lost. There is no hope of getting them back. All you can do now is keep the rest of your followers safe by putting an end to your activities in the Imperium." "We can't do that!" With every word, the co-founder of Freedom for All revealed more of his true nature. All Marsa saw was a petulant child, incensed that he wasn't getting his way. "The Imperial Navy is on high alert, Seema," said Uren. "They already captured one load of your people. They will capture more if you continue with this ridiculous strategy." "If we don't continue, then more will suffer. The mission of Freedom for All is to deliver all those from the tyranny and oppression of the Imperium. The Confederacy's failure to do so means we are forced to take matters into our own hands." "The Imperial Navy is not to be trifled with," said Tusek Keljung, leader of the Valhallan sovereignty. "You will only send more people to their deaths." Out of the members of the Confederacy, the Valhallan were best renowned for military prowess. Hardy, Sudare-like beings from the planet Sunkral Jung, the crushing gravity of their homeworld had left them short, but also granted them unimaginable strength. Tusek was no exception. 2 bloody droplets for eyes, and a pair of tusks curving up over his snout. The Valhallan commanded the largest army and navy in the Confederacy. When it came to military matters, Tusek's word was valued above all others, almost sacred. "In addition, your strategy defies any kind of logic," said the leader of the Chelk, known only as Haid, speaking in its soft, ethereal tone. Chelk were asexual. "The non-Halkan population in the Imperium numbers well into the trillions. Your group consists of several hundred and possesses the resources to mount a mission into Imperial space once per galactic standard week. It would take you millennia to transport all those you call oppressed out of the Imperium and into the Confederacy, provided you survive that long." The Chelk were by far the most bizarre members of the Confederacy and some of the strangest beings in the known galaxy. A species of hive minds, they resembled tall jellyfish, domed heads atop a thin stalk of flesh and cartilage, brains plain to see swimming in their cloudy cerebral fluid. The Chelk were best known for their strangeness and intellect, as well as their cold, detached manner of speech. Seema shook his head. "We cannot stand by and watch our brethren be abused and made to live in fear. We realise the hopelessness of our cause, but as long as we live and breathe, we will rescue as many as possible. We have committed our lives to this, and will continue for as long as we can." By that point, it was clear nothing would change his mind. He was, by his own admission, aware of the hopelessness of his endeavour, and yet he kept fighting. Marsa had to admire that, even if the man was an idiot. His mission was dangerous and idealistic, but his cause was a noble one that she supported. But like the rest of the council, Marsa was very much aware that as long as the Imperium stood, Freedom for All's mission would never be accomplished. "I believe I speak for the council when I strongly urge you to reconsider your course of action," she said as diplomatically as possible. "We cannot do that," Seema snapped. "Not while people suffer at the hands of the Imperium. We may not be able to save everybody, but as long as we live, we will save as many as we can, with your support or without it." With a motion that resembled the pushing of a button, Seema's image faded from existence. 7 notas followed, and the council was left in silence. Marsa felt uneasy, as she was certain the others did. There was a time when the Executive Council had supported Freedom for All and even aided in their mission, but they drew the line when their actions began threatening to plunge the galaxy into all-out war. Something had to be done, though Marsa wasn't sure exactly what, and judging from the silence, neither was anyone else.